All right, welcome everyone to, well, I'm going to say the name of the podcast in a second because I'm changing the name, sort of. But it is Thursday, April 14th, 2022, and we have a special guest, Michael Grace. Not really a special guest, just a guest. Everybody's a special guest. I don't know what makes you any different, but maybe you'll be special. So, yeah, I guess I should just say hi, because sometimes I do the intro and then the person's just sitting there awkwardly. So you can say hello quick.
Awesome. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks. I'm special because of unicorns.
Yes. For those of you watching on YouTube, you can see he's got unicorns behind him on his shelf. And that is fun. And then somebody told me, and maybe you'll know about this because you're a technology guy, but I think my last guest, I don't know, mentioning something about video podcasts on Apple. I'm like, you can upload a video to Apple Podcast? What? And I Googled it, and it doesn't seem to exist. So I don't know what he was talking about. So I'm not going to worry. But if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see his unicorns. And if not, well, just imagine unicorns. There's a lot of stuffed unicorns in there. How do you think a podcast should work? Should I give an intro to who the heck you are first, or ramble on for 20 minutes about unicorns and then reveal who the heck I'm talking to?
I love it. I've seen it both ways. I've seen people ramble on just almost talking to themselves, and then they kind of go, oh yeah, I have a guest, and then they intro the guest, and it's just kind of weird because you're watching the host just in a mind of his own. So why not? Yeah. We could intro and then go into it.
All right, let's do that. That'll be a new thing. Or yeah, let's intro you, and then I'll tell you the name of my podcast. All right.
There we go.
So you're an AI guy, like technology guy?
I am. So I spend most of my time talking to folks about robotic process automation and strategy and technology and digital transformation, all a bunch of real fuzzy words that I'm happy to clarify. But that's what I do on my day-to-day job. So I am Michael Grace, and my moniker, my tech kind of personality is Tech Pro Unicorn. That's the unicorns in the background, and I'm happy to share kind of what that all means.
Oh man, that's smart to have like a visual way of saying what you are. I remember I had a girlfriend in university who just liked Dalmatians. Everybody would just give her Dalmatians for any present. Here's a mug, here's a doll, or whatever. So it's nice to have something like that. And then my mom at some point liked cows, and so everybody was giving her cows. And then I had friends come over once. They're like, is your mom like a larger woman? Like, why is it all... I'm like, what? It's not very nice. I don't know what that means. But, you know, if you can have a thing that you're known for, like Prince is the color purple, so now there's a visual thing. So that's why I've come up with the name for myself. You can see I've drawn my little logo on my my microphone here, Spark the Genius. And so I thought when I came up with the name recently... Well, it works on many levels because it's like a noun, like I am Spark the Genius, but it's also a verb, like I'm telling you to spark the genius within you. Like, it's so brilliant. But I thought, oh my God, it could also be my name. I am Spark the Genius, but the podcast is called Spark the Genius. But then I realized, you know, if I put that on Apple and it says Spark the Genius by Spark the Genius, what? Like, it just gets confusing. Like, if your name was John Smith, you wouldn't say, welcome to John Smith, I'm John Smith. So then I'm like, maybe I should call this... I don't know, Spark the Genius : the podcast, like, Star Trek the motion picture in 1970, whatever. But I'm like, who would speak like that? Hey, have you listened to Spark the Genius, the podcast? That's confusing. Or Spark the Genius podcast? But then, like, what's the Instagram? Like, Spark the Genius _podcast. So then I'm like, maybe I should just be more conventional. Welcome to the Spark the Genius show, even though that's two thes in there. Or... the Spark the Genius podcast maybe sounds more official because anybody can have a show, but you got to pay like $10 a month for hosting for a podcast. So I don't know. Any thoughts? Like, you care?
I got to say, first, I'm happy to be the guest that's helping you figure this out, right? That's kind of special.
That's a bit of an honor. That's like, imagine like if you were on a call with Mark Zuckerberg and he's like, I've got this social media site. I'm like, I don't know, is it Faceland or Face Space? What do you think I should call it? And you're like, I don't know. Is it like a book of faces? And you're like, what? And then you can be like, I was the guy.
That's right. I don't know. I like Spark the Genius by Spark the Genius. At first, you people might be like, oh, did he make a mistake? Did he not understand what the question was? Oh, he just copied and pasted twice. But it's intriguing enough that you might also go, I'm going to click on that.
Oh man.
About
Well,
the
see,
Spark
there
the
you go.
Genius.
Which is what I've been doing. I've been like every episode. I've been like, welcome everyone to Spark the Genius. I'm your host, Spark the Genius, and I'm here to spark the genius within you. And that's been my intro. And maybe my first instinct is right, rather than beating myself over the head later on. And who cares? And the other thing, also the thing that I keep reminding myself is, who cares? Like, what? Like, you know, do I have 3 listeners maybe on a lucky day? Like, why am I beating myself? Like, oh, I better have the right "the" in front of it, or really, who cares? Like, the last guy I talked to, he was one of the founders of the Onion website, and we were just talking about how, like, when you're a kid, like, I would just record radio shows with my tape deck, and I'd be like, hey, here I am, and now I'm going to cut to the radio station, and then back, and then I interview my sister or something, and, you know, it's raining outside, it's raining chickens, what? Like, it doesn't matter. So, I mean, why not just do that, and, and you know what? If people go to Apple and it's Spark the Genius by Spark the Genius, who cares? All right, so we've decided. And that way I don't have to write 2 different things. It's like, here, this is either the podcast, this is everything, right here. That was the whole point.
And I love the logo. The logo is awesome.
I hand drew that just before, I don't know, one of my episodes. And then, but here's an older logo I have here. I have my T-shirt beside you because I did a stand-up comedy act a few weeks ago, and I thought, you know what, the idea for my act was I'm going to do a live recording of my podcast. And so I did that intro, welcome to Spark the Genius, whatever, and I'm like, I need a T-shirt for it. So just before the show, I went to the store, and I'm like, here's a logo I made on Canva, and I'm like, it seems to take up a lot of space, like, it's all a lot of white, like, should I, you know, remove the background, because I hadn't figured out how to do that yet, and he's like, no, we'll just make it all white. But when you put a lot of ink on a T-shirt, it feels like you're wearing like a dinner plate. Like, you can't really move. So that was stupid. But this cost me like $45 because it was the last minute. But you can see it says Spark the Genius. It's like a circle around it and a lightning bolt. And the lightning bolt is what you get on Canva if you type the word Spark. So I really worked hard on that because I don't know how to. Yeah, I don't know how to make my own designs, but I also like the idea, like, if you type Spark into your phone, the emoji that comes up is a spark, and I'm like, oh, that's visual, like your unicorn, and also it kind of looks like an S. I'm like, oh, it's an S that's a spark, like, and if you wear it on your chest, it's like, it feels like you're a superhero or something. So that's what all of that is, but I'm having trouble figuring out, again, I don't know why I'm asking you, but, like, how do I incorporate the word into because, like, if you have Nike, you've got the swoosh, and then Nike's just sort of along it horizontally attached to the swoosh. It all fits. But I'm like, Spark the Genius, where the hell does this go? But again, it doesn't matter. I was looking at Under Armour's website today. I'm like, yeah, they just got the line underneath their U and their A. And you keep changing it. Like, Amazon's changing their logo. When I looked up my Under Armour logo, it showed like 7 variations since 1996. So I'm not locked into whatever it is. And again, who cares? Nobody cares. So don't beat myself up. Just literally just be like, yeah, I'm trying it, throwing it out there.
Well, what I love is, right, like you said, the Spark looks like an S, right? And the beginning of Spark the Genius starts with an S, and the end of
Ends
Spark
with
the
an
Genius
S.
starts with an S. So I would do something cool with the lettering that kind of was like S, Park, and then Genius with it ending.
Yeah.
I would really leverage that
I know.
cool S.
I've thought of it because, like, there was I don't know, a while ago, like, I was trying to start a like or something, and I'm like, okay, my name's gonna be, and I'm like, oh, and the so let me think, how did this work? Oh, right, it worked well because ended with, and then the next letter is, so in the middle you've got your, like, the sports TV station, like Sports Center, and then in the middle of the SC, they've got like a dot around. I was like, oh, that's great. And then I just abandoned that whole thing. And then this, it's not quite the same, but yeah, no, I noticed that there's an S at the beginning and the end, and it's almost like, I don't know, like, what's Van Halen's logo? It's kind of like got a V and a F.
Which makes no sense because it's Van Halen, not Van Flalen.
So what's the F?
I don't know.
Maybe there's no F, or does it look like an F? I don't know. I just remember there's something at both edges, kind of like lightning bolts or something. I think maybe they turn. You know what? They probably just turned the end of the N into some kind of lightning bolt, but it doesn't. I think we're making up the F. Maybe that's Aerosmith or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the problem... Okay, so I've tried. I mean, it seems naturally that you'd want the S in the spark to be the S in the word, but I can't do it without it looking like Park the Genius with a lightning bolt beside it. Like, there's no... Unless you write the whole word, like, in kind of jaggedy spark font... But then it defeats the purpose of the fact that it's an S and a spark. Like a P with jag doesn't. That's not a spark. That's just a weird looking P.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Somehow I'll figure this out.
These are struggles that we're sharing of all podcasters, right?
Oh,
all
yeah.
podcasters go through this. I love what you said about you have no idea who the hell listens to your podcast, right? I mean, we're on coming close to 100 episodes, and I don't know who listens to my podcast. I don't care because I get to talk to cool people like you that I otherwise wouldn't have gotten to talk to.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, I mean, you can see your stats, and so, like, I can see, like, and I haven't been consistent in posting, but when I was posting originally, I'm like, oh, there's 10 listeners. That's exciting. And then you can see it's like, oh, somebody from Sweden or somebody from Vietnam. And I'm like, or I'm huge in Finland. Like, how did that happen? Like, huge as in one person in Finland. But yeah, like randomly, and there's no way, like they haven't emailed me and said, you know, I really enjoy your show. I mean, maybe they came across it by accident, who knows? But it's kind of cool to think, like, it's not the same as, you know, Facebook or Instagram. You can, I don't know, you get an idea of who's liking it or whatever. But a podcast, it feels more like you're Christian Slater in Pump Up the Volume, just in your basement with your little ham radio talking to the void, and you don't know who's listening, but maybe somebody's picking it up on their little receiver. Like, it's kind of, I don't know, that's how I picture myself. Like, have you looked at your stats? So obviously you have a podcast. Is it called the Michael Grace Show, or is it called Grace Me with Your Presence? Or
no, nothing quite as cute. It's called Tech Pro Unicorn. So all on brand, right? All on brand on Tech Pro Unicorn.
Brilliant. But if you you could make your name Tech Pro Unicorn, but then it's Tech Pro Unicorn with Tech Pro Unicorn. You see how it gets complicated.
It does.
But maybe you are. I mean, I guess you could be Michael Grace, the Tech Pro Unicorn. Because I met this woman who was trying to sell me tickets. I was at a Tony Robbins event a few years ago, and I wound up talking to her for like an hour and a half. I think I filmed it and put it on YouTube. And her name is I can't even remember her name, but it's long and complicated. There's probably like hyphens from getting married, and I was like, whoa. But she's branded herself as the Girl on Fire. She decided that's her visual name. So it's a little fire thing. So it's always like Shelley Vakadin hyphen the Girl on Fire. So at least if you give something people can spell and remember.
Yes.
I mean, not that Michael Grace is hard, but, you know, there's other Michaels in the world.
Yep.
So that's cool. And even your little what do you call those cubes behind you, like the panels or whatever, like for sound dampening, they're blue. They seem to match your theme of the Tech Pro T-shirt on your unicorns.
They do. Our company logos for RPI, where I work, and sponsors my podcast. Otherwise, I wouldn't eat if I relied on revenue from a podcast, right? Podcasters, if you feel, if you want to ever help a podcaster out, if you're listening now, give Spark some money, because we podcasters, it's not the most profitable game in the business. So it matches our company colors, and it is all around me. Feel like that sound, when you go to the movie, it's all around you.
Right, it's like a Dolby surround sound.
That's right.
Even your shirt is blue. That's very good.
My shirt is blue, yes. And we'll stop there, because other things on me might not be blue.
Oh, well, you got to get the blue headphones, because right now you've got like a red band at the top.
I know. Yeah.
Even headphones, if you look at these gamer girls, like they'll have headphones with like cat ears or something. It all becomes part of the thing. So maybe I don't know.
That's it.
I'm just using earbuds, though. I'm kind of upset with myself, because I'm wearing like an Adidas zipper top, and it's like, now I'm advertising Adidas with their. I should be wearing Spark the Genius top, so I gotta get my swag made. There's two woo-woo things I've decided I'm going to start my podcast with. One is like, I realized this week, you know what? The most precious thing we have is our time. So if I have a guest who's giving me like half an hour, I'm like, I want to thank you for giving me your time. That's so generous of you. That's
for sure.
It's hard for me to say that and not like want to throw up in my mouth, but I'm trying to sound genuine. And then the second part was like, oh, I want to say like, you know what? I just like learning things. And then people keep saying, what's your podcast about? And I think it's about, I want to learn things to make my life the best it can be. Like if it's health or wealth or relationships or whatever. And so people are coming on and teaching me things, and I'm letting people listen to the call. So thank you for teaching me something. And what are you going to teach me?
I don't know, right?
Yeah.
My whole world, right, is about helping companies automate manual processes and become bigger and better and more efficient without increasing costs. And I had a podcast that challenged me once, and they said, hey, we have individual entrepreneurs and individual people. What do you have for them, right? And, and I kind of said, think about the technology that you use just on a regular day-to-day basis, whether that's email or whether that's Riverside, which is what's recording this podcast, and really spend the time to understand all the features, right? Take the time and understand, what does this do? What does that do? There's all kinds of little buttons. You can't see it because we're like, Spark and I are like in this framed world, but there's all kinds of buttons underneath us. And what do they all do, right? And really kind of understand the technology that you use, because there's often features that the designers of the technology said, oh, I bet somebody wants this and it'll make their lives easier. And as you do that with just the core technology, don't go learn some abstract piece of technology that you're never going to use, because that's not helpful. But as an individual, if you spend your life in Outlook, learn everything that there is to know about Outlook. Like you can schedule messages to make you appear like you're working at 5 o'clock by scheduling the message to go out at 5 o'clock. And they're like, wow, he's working at 5 o'clock. No, I scheduled that at 10 o'clock in the morning and I'm out playing golf. But you got the email at 5 o'clock and you think I'm working at 5 o'clock, and I'm not working at 5 o'clock. My bosses should not, I'd never do that.
That's funny. I saw a woman tweet yesterday saying, am I fooling anyone with my auto-sent 8:03 a.m. emails or whatever? But I guess if you're tweeting that, then no, now you're not.
You disclosed the magic.
Yeah. But I've been thinking about that lately, because I just bought a new MacBook Air after replacing my old MacBook Pro from 2013, and I didn't realize how slow it was until now I have a new one. I'm like, oh. And, I got an email from Apple saying you could do a setup. And I was like, I know how to use a Mac. I've been using it forever. But I'll bet if I did that, and I tried booking it a couple days ago. Actually, do I have it coming up soon? I can't remember. I feel like I booked it. I don't know. But it's like they could probably show you a few little things that you didn't know. And then you're like, oh, like that just saves me time. Like I remember one of the first things I learned on the computer like 20 years ago, I was working in an ad agency, and the girl said, this account girl said, look, if you'd use Command-C, you can copy, and then Command-V is paste. I'm like, whoa, now I don't have to keep going using my mouse and stuff. And I think of her every time I do that, which is all day, every day for the past 20 years. So who knows what little snippet you could learn that you're like, wow, that would say, like even things like on my phone, I've learned that if I want to type like my email address, like say I have Gmail, I might just put auto type GM, and then if I type the letters GM, boom, my whole email address pops up. So that way I never have to type out my whole email address on my phone. And to me, that's like, I feel like that's a pretty good game changer. So I do that for a lot of things that I need to type. Like, oh, it's my Facebook link, then it's FBL, and then I type that, and boom, there's my Facebook link. So like that's like, is that the kind of thing you would teach people?
That's awesome. Yeah. No, I teach them much more kind of high level industrial business process. How do we automate this process and have people participate less in that? But I like your tips, right? I just learned one probably like 3 weeks ago. My wife saw me like backspacing on my phone, right? I had typed a big message on my phone and I was like, backspace. I misspelled the word. And she's like, yo, you realize you can just put your finger on the space bar and hold down, and then it moves, it changes your cursor on your screen, and then you can just move it around wherever you want it to, and then just edit from there. And I was like, what? Like, no, I never realized that just pausing on the space bar on a iPhone text keyboard allows you to, like, wow, cool.
I'm gonna try that right now here and see what you're talking about. Let's see, who can I text? All right, so this This is a test. All right, that's all messed up, but it doesn't matter. Now if I hold on the space bar. Okay, now. Oh,
And
man.
you could slide. Yeah. Isn't that kind of cool? That's thanks to my wife. That's not me.
Yeah, because what have I been doing? I've been clicking right with my thumb on the thing, which is sort of not bad, but yeah, this feels like a lot more in control there. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the kind of thing that I would get Apple to tell me and go, I just wasted 30 years of my life sort of moving my finger around on this thing.
Yeah, technology can be really cool, and people get overwhelmed, right? Because they look at the art of the possible. I hate when people talk about that, like, here's the art of the possible. I'm like, how about the art of what this person needs in their particular
you froze.
instance? I froze. I'm not frozen.
Okay, so just if
I don't
anybody's
feel frozen.
you were frozen there for like 5 seconds, and now you were saying art of the possible, and then it was
right.
gone.
I don't know.
What's nice about Riverside is that it's recording on your end and on my end, and at the end it'll sort of upload both files and then merge them. So we'll hear you still talking, and then we'll see my face going, "Oh God, he's frozen. What is he saying?" So I don't know how helpful that is, but okay. So you were saying art of the possible, and then what did I miss?
Yeah. You know, I mean, I think people get overwhelmed by technology because they look at everything that an app can do, or everything that your AirPad can do, your your AirBook, and it doesn't, how do you use that, right? Because how you use that might be different than how I use it or how somebody else uses it. And what you're really looking for are what are the features and functionality that empower you in the way that you use it.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to learn, I want to know everything that my Apple MacBook does.
Yeah, that's the thing, and that's why I'd be even reluctant to take this class. Like, I don't want to learn 1,000 things, like about scheduling emails or fun ways to edit your photos or whatever. It's like it doesn't. But yeah, but if there's little tips, I can sort of say this is what I do. Any new little features, because there's got to be new things on here that I don't know about. Like, it can't just be copy paste. Like, I'm still excited about copy paste from 1997 or something. Like even just holding my thumb down, and even. Every time there's an update, you're like, oh, that's, there's little things. So why not? Especially, I spend so much time on this. Like, my phone will tell me it's at the end of the week, it's like, oh, you only spent average 9 hours a day on your phone. And it's like, oh, wow, I'm down by 10%. Like, what? Like, I spent less time breathing or something. So what is it you do? Like, you tell companies...
we serve. I get the opportunity, right, to go into mid to large size companies that are really trying to do more with less, right? They're trying to expand, grow. Maybe they've acquired companies, and at the end of the day, they want to scale, right? They want to grow, but they don't want to add more people. So they don't want to add more HR, finance, supply chain, those kind of lower level, no offense to the people that do those jobs, but you're at the kind of the bottom of the food chain there. Ooh. The accounting people, the accounts payable people, the HR service center people, all those types of jobs are at the lower level, right? They process a lot of paper. They spend a bunch of time in communication, moving data around. Like, you'll call up and be like, hello, how much PTO do I have left? Because I want to go on vacation. And they go, I don't know. Right? And then they go, oh, you have 43 hours. You can go for 1 week. And all of that we're able to really automate through things like robotic process automation, which are not really like automaton kind of robots, but really think about macros. They're really a bunch of macros that go into a bunch of commands and communicate. We use chatbots a lot, so we'll have you talk to an actual chatbot that can go get the information for you and bring it back. So we really look at what's the business problem we're trying to solve, and then we bring all kinds of technology to bear to try to free up people, not fire people, but really free them up to do more important things. Right? Go do better research, maybe spend time hiring better people, work on policies, procedures, things that are more meaningful to the company than, answering your question about a PTO balance.
It's interesting because I mean, one of the sponsors of a podcast I listen to is like an outsourced HR company. Like it's called Bambee or something, but it's spelled Bambee. I think. I don't know why. I want to research it and go, what were you thinking? But I guess the idea is like if you're a small company, you don't want to pay somebody $100,000 a year to be your HR person, but if you could outsource it and just you've got your 3 employees and they can call Bambee and deal with their PTO, which I assume is paid time off. And I guess it's that kind of thing, but you would come in and say, so do you have your own software, or you're just like, hey, you guys could use this software, you could use this chat bot or something, like sort of help people automate things?
Yep, that's spot on. We do not have our own software. We bring everything directly to the the company. So we are partners with a lot of large software that we bring to bear once we understand the problem. And again, when I said we serve like mid to large size companies. So yeah, if you're small, under 25, 30, 40 people, even I'd say even under 100 people, you're using like Bambee, right? You're using these outsourced companies because it doesn't make sense to buy all these expensive people and go, well, what are you doing today, HR person? I'm sitting around hoping somebody asks me a question, right? Because you're too small.
Yeah. Or like LegalZoom, that's another one they advertise.
Yes.
Like, if you've got, you don't need a corporate lawyer sitting there twiddling thumbs. You just use them as needed. And when you're saying like it's lower tasks and stuff, and that's demeaning, it's almost not even lower. It's just almost specialized specifically. Like an HR person can be an HR person, or a legal person can be a legal person for different companies. Whereas if you're like the creative director of your own company or something, that's more specific to your company. So like it's almost like less specific types. I mean, what the hell do I know? I don't have a company or a job.
Not yet.
No.
Spark the Genius is going to go worldwide. I feel it.
Well, I know. Even as you were speaking, I'm like, I was looking at my name on the little chat thing on the side. I'm like, Spark the Genius Inc. Ooh, that's got a nice ring to it.
Yes.
I don't know what that would mean, but or I could start a tattoo shop called Spark the Genius Inc. with a K, and then you come and get a spark on your arm or something.
That's it.
So many options. I don't know. Maybe I should become an LLC or whatever. I guess I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying. But yes, maybe when I will have you come in and I wish you could just sort of come in and like streamline my life and be like, hey, this is be an easier way of you don't have to answer your phone anymore. You don't have to cook your meals. I don't know. So that's kind of an exciting job. Like I remember there was when I was working at an ad agency writing commercials for Kellogg's or something, they would have this guy come in. I guess they was called a cost consultant or something, and he'd sit in all these meetings, and we'd be like, hey, we want to shoot this commercial. We got to shoot it in L.A. and we want to spend a week on the beach while we're there and whatever. And he'd be like, oh, that's a waste of money. And then they'd be paying him to sort of come in and give his cost efficient. Like, so it seems like you're that kind of person, like an outsourced. Like they'll be, we need this guy to come in and sort of give us his expert advice, and that way you're not beholden to any one company. It's not a job you're worried about. You don't need your PTO. You're sort of, and also your clients are big companies with money to spend, or not even big, but they're companies. Like it's an individual person has less money to spend to bring in somebody to help them clean their closet, but a company's got their budget, and they're like, all right, we're going to make money from this. We need the tech unicorn, and he's the best, and whatever. And we can tell he's very professional because he does a podcast with stuffed animals behind him. So this is the man we need to take us to the next level. How did you come up with this kind of, like, what's your from birth to now?
Yeah, really. I was in tech consulting, and we were implementers or integrators, right? And I was really focused on how do I configure the software to do whatever it is that the customers wanted, and that was great, and that's what a lot of companies do. But the difference was, I was like, wait a minute, we're automating this crappy process, right? This process is bad. So then I was like, I really want to focus on the process, and then I was like, well, now I don't want to just focus on the process. I want to do both, right? I want to look at the business process, and I want to make it a better process. And then I want to look at what's in my technology toolbox that I can bring, and what can I automate so that people aren't doing this task, right? Because these robots can enter things into software, right? They can key things in, just like you or me. They can write emails, they can send reports. If you think about in large companies, what do people do a lot of? It's what we call pushing or pulling information, right? They're like, oh, I just got to get this spreadsheet, and then I got to key that into this system, and then I'm going to get this report, and I'm going to send it to somebody. There's no value there other than the act of doing it. So let a robot do that, and you can go have a meeting with Tony the Tiger, right, and get more ad revenue or something, right? Like it enables people to spend their time doing much more valuable things than all this noise that happens at the lower levels of companies, so that people can be creative.
Yeah, and it's exactly what I was just saying about how time is our most valuable resource. So
exactly.
as much as you're like, well, I could copy and paste every email address that we get into a Google Doc, it's like, but if any of this can be automated, it frees you up. So you were working at a company that made software or something, and then you were like, and then you decided, all right, I'm going to go off on my own.
No, I work with 150 other like-minded, non-unicorn kind of people at RPI. The unicorn brand when it came to RPI, I said, I really want to focus on this anomaly of really understanding what the customer needs, really looking at how they're doing it today, and then trying to make it better, leveraging technology. And some of our customers said, wow, that's kind of like, that's the magic, right? That's the magic that we need. That's transformation. That's what's going to change us. And so as people were calling me things, I had 2 customers call me a unicorn, and they said, you're kind of like weird, and you're like a unicorn, and they were pointing at my hair, and I was like, oh yeah, my hair is in a point like a unicorn. Oh. So you can see the striking resemblance, right? For those of you that are listening, you don't get the same. You don't get the same,
Well,
but those of you on YouTube can see the striking resemblance.
Well, my new thing, when I first started the podcast, I was just using my logo as the thumbnail for every episode. But recently I've started, well, actually before, when I was still using Skype or Zoom, I would take a screenshot of the video at some point and then use that as a thumbnail. So people, if they click on it, at least they can see the two of us, so they can picture us talking. Mm-hmm. And then with Riverside, it gives you like some automatic screenshots. So I'll just pick one. So yeah, even if people are like old school and listening to this, old school or new school, I'm not even sure which would be which. But they can see our thumbnails. They can see your pointy hair for sure.
That's it.
That's exciting. So that's brilliant to have even your hair become part of it. Like it's like Conan O'Brien with his swoop, or I don't know, who's the guy? Like Malcolm Gladwell's known for his kind of poofy hair or whatever. So that's very smart as well. So RPI, does that stand for something?
It used to stand for 3 partners that are no longer here. So now it doesn't stand for anything other than we are just a technology consulting firm. So we do a variety of stuff.
So did you move from your other company to RPI?
I did. In 2019, I left. I had my own firm for a while, and that's very lonely when you have your own firm. And you're like talking to yourself every day. What should we do for this customer? Well, I don't know. Well, what do you think they want? Well, I think this. And you're like, oh, we should get some real people before I get committed. So RPI had a great team. They had a mix of kind of everything that I wanted to be a part of. We serve a lot of healthcare across the country and a lot of government agencies. So those are two industries that could use some automation. So it's a good place to play.
That's good. So you're working for an existing company, but you've made yourself your own little brand within it. So yeah, I think I was listening to James Altucher's show last week, and he was saying something like, I forget what he calls it. It's like it's an entrepreneur, but it's a employeepreneur or something like that.
That's a great analogy because really. My brand, right, Tech Pro Unicorn, it's out. There's a website, techprounicorn.com. All my thought leadership in the space, all my blog articles, all my podcasts, everything is tied to Tech Pro Unicorn. My little unicorns are Tech Pro Unicorn, and so it exists within the overall brand name of, RPI as a company. And I get to be very entrepreneurial. I lead our innovation arm. So I'm always looking at what's the latest and greatest technology. How do we bring that to bear to our customers or to us internally? And how do we change the world? Slowly but surely, I'm trying to make it a better place.
That's great. Yeah, because when James mentioned that, I was like, oh, that's smart. Because a lot of, normally employees just think of themselves as, well, I'm just doing my job. I'm not benefiting from the entrepreneurship. And then entrepreneurs, are more creative. They're doing everything. But it's harder as yourself to have a huge impact. Mm-hmm. Even Jeff Bezos needs he needs to team up with other people. If it was just him, he'd still be hand delivering books out of his garage. So, and that's something I should have thought of when I was working at a big ad agency. I was like, oh no, I want to work for myself. But it's like, no, I could be, spark the genius, within the company, and then so now you've got the resources of this massive company, but you're still sort of building your own brand as well. So I like that. And even James, that when I first met him or found him on a Zoom call for some podcast conference or something, he was talking about his book, Choose Yourself, I think, where he was just like, these days you can just design your own pajama line, throw a logo on, and now you're selling your own pajamas. Or like, there's so much you can do online now. So why not have your own little dolls and everything color coordinated? Because it's so hard to remember who people are. And if you were just Michael Grace, and they'd be like, yeah, I don't know, there was Michael somebody, there was another Michael there. It's like, how are you building anything, right? Mm-hmm. But if you're Nike with a swoosh, you see that. So you can do that yourself. Now somebody sees your hair from across the room. Oh, it's the unicorn guy. Like it all fits. I like it.
It does. Yeah, my business cards say Chief Unicorn. And, all my digital presence is all unicorn. All my presentations to customers are all unicorn. And if nothing else, it sparks a discussion, right? Because they go, what is this unicorn thing? And when they go, I don't understand what this unicorn thing is, it gives me an opportunity to explain it, right? And I get to say, oh, well, here's why I'm called that, and here's what I do. And they go, oh my God, that's exactly what we need done. And I'm like, oh, well, isn't that convenient? Because I'm here and you're here. And let's sign a contract and do some great things together.
That's the thing. And otherwise, it would have just been like, oh, hi, you're a regular guy. What do you do? I don't know. Like there's no discussion.
Flat. It's very flat. Yeah.
Like even when I used to go to bars to try to meet women, I'd bring my friend who was a magician. I'd be like, this is Ian. He's going to do a magic trick. Oh, what? Like you need some kind of brand. Or lately when I've gone out, we bring glow necklaces, and everybody comes up, oh, can I have a glow necklace? Yeah, here's a glow necklace. Like now you're the glow necklace guy. Just something visual. Like just have fun with it. Like again, like you're a kid. Like what would you do? You'd have your own face on a T-shirt. You'd have your own little logo. You'd have some gift you can give to people. Little bracelets. Who knows?
I had a lady come up to me at a conference. She had her child with her, and she's like, this is Michael Grace, and he's the Tech Pro Unicorn. And the kid looked at me, and she goes, he's not a unicorn. And I leaned down, and I said, have you ever met a real unicorn? Do you think we manifest ourselves as a plush animal? No. Oh. You don't know that I'm not a real unicorn.
Oh, man. And now she's in therapy forever. It's funny, like the things you hear as a kid, and then it takes you maybe a few decades, and you go, what? Like I remember I was in a health food store with my parents, maybe when I was like 11 or 12, and I think they had frozen yogurt or something, and I tasted it, and I was like, oh, this frozen yogurt's better than ice cream or something. And the guy was like, you said the magic words. You get that for free. And I was like, what? Those are magic words that get you a free ice cream? So I would always walk in there after that and just sort of stand there and look around and go, wow, frozen yogurt's better than ice cream. And it was just a different staff, and they would look at me weird. And it was only like, maybe 30 years later, I was like, wait a minute, he was just saying that. Like, it was just a comment. Like, those weren't magic. I didn't hit upon some secret promo code that had never, like, it was just, but at the time, I thought it was this thing, and I'm like, will it work in other stores? Like, oh my God, how did I luck out on this? So yeah, sometimes as a kid, it takes you a while to, you process things differently. Like, there was this radio show on CBC Radio where they were interviewing a guy who writes birthday cards, and they were like, tell us about your latest masterpiece, like Happy Birthday Little Cowboy. It's like, oh my God, that took me 3 years to come up with. And now, I realize it was a joke, it was a spoof, But at the time, I was like, wow, I didn't realize there was so much into writing Happy Birthday Little Cowboy. Like, maybe I can become a birthday card writer. Like, what's that? But maybe I was right to be like, wow, that's magical. Like, maybe we shouldn't lose that magic. We should just think, sure, I could be the Happy Birthday Little Cowboy card writer.
I love it.
Yeah. Well, and you're the and so now you've either inspired this little girl or destroyed her. We don't know. We'll watch for her in the news and see what the chyron under her photo is, and that'll be exciting. And if it's a bad thing, you'll be like, no, don't remember her at all. You know, like it's like in every movie, you always see like Batman giving a toy to a little kid who's wearing a clown shirt. Oh my God, that's going to be the Joker one day, and Batman met him at that point, or vice versa. I forget who's older in these things. Depends. But yeah, so she might become your nemesis.
That's it.
Yeah, we don't know. Or yeah, that's right, because they're trying to retrofit even the I don't know, like Iron Man 2 or something. It's like, remember there was a little kid that he gives a toy to that grew up to be Peter Parker. It's like,
yeah.
So.
Well, the unicorns are super popular. You know, at conferences, it's funny because we have them stacked, and people are like, they'll walk up to the booth and they're like, "Can I have the unicorn?" And the idea is they're supposed to have a conversation with me, which
you're like,
nobody
can I
wants
have a contract? You know?
Yeah. Nobody wants to talk to me. They just want the damn unicorn. And you know, at first I was like insulted. I was like, "What do you mean? You want a $2 plush animal and don't want to talk to me as a human being?" And they're like, "Yeah. Exactly that.
Yeah,
Can I just have the $2 unicorn?" You're like,
the
okay, here's the unicorn.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I need to accept that. Like, if I come up with a cool little gift, you know, in my own head, I'm like, well, you know, I'm a supermodel. People want to talk to me. No, they don't want to talk to you. They want your little $2 gift. Actually, I made a little video about this on Facebook recently because I was walking up to a bunch of ducks that were sitting on the river on my jog, and I thought, hey, I want to say hi to them, but you know what, I wish I had that many friends, like all these ducks. But I'm like, well, I bet they would be friends if I brought like a snack. But then I'm like, I don't want the ducks to just like me for the snack. But then I'm like, you know what? That's even a relationship, even in a marriage. Like, you coming with something. Like, whoever Jeff Bezos' girlfriend now, you know, she might like him as him. But it doesn't hurt that he's
Doubt it.
Got a few. Yeah, exactly. But even if you're like a poor person, like it's still part of. You know, I could be the nicest guy in the world, but it's like it's still. When you're with someone, that's part of the package. Oh, they've got a job, so they can support me, and like it's there's things that come with you. So maybe what you offer people is a stuffed unicorn, and you just have to accept that. And maybe I give people a stuffed Spark doll or something, and it's like, you know what, that's it. Because really, I mean, everything we are, even if you're a supermodel, it's like it's your looks that were given to you by genetics. It's like not like anything you did for it either. Like everything is kind of. I don't know, we're all selfish in the end, I guess, and it's what we get from someone. It's not necessarily merging two altruistic souls somehow. I don't know.
The number of people that signed up for Lyft, right, as a company when they first came out, if you were a Lyft driver, they sent you this big, giant, pink mustache, and you got to put it on the front of your car, right? And that's how people knew you were a Lyft driver. And so everybody was like, oh my gosh, I have to get the pink mustache for my car. So they'd sign up for Lyft, they'd get the pink mustache, and they'd never drive for Lyft. They didn't want to drive for Lyft, they just wanted the pink mustache.
Yeah, there's some lesson there. Because I feel like nobody wants the pink mustache now. I don't know, would they? Do you want
they
to
sell on eBay for a lot of money, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then, yeah, you'd want, maybe ironically, but I don't know. I mean, aside from Lyft, I mean, I have Lyft, the app, but I find, and it's always a couple of bucks cheaper usually or something. I'm like, oh, I'll do Lyft, but I've had bad experiences. Like the car it's on its way, but then it'll just decide to go somewhere else, and I'm like, wait, you can't do that. You know, and then now, because I get mad, because I'm like, you wasted my time now. This is my most valuable asset. Wasted an hour waiting for you. I should have paid the extra $2 for an Uber, even if doesn't have a big mustache on the front. So. I don't, but yeah, I mean, their logo is pink, so they got the pink mustache, so that's smart, because how do you brand a car, I guess? So that's, yeah, like that's the thing, and that's what I want to come up with, some swag for myself, so people are like, ooh, cool, I want a t-shirt. And also, I mean, people want a little doll, like most people, they give away, like a fridge magnet. Like, here's the real estate agent fridge magnet they give. It's like, how many fridge magnets do you need? And do you need to be constantly aware of the real estate agent's phone number? It's like, oh, it's on the fridge. We can call him right. Like, I don't know. Like, nobody wants that. Most of that stuff is garbage. But a doll, people might want to use, I guess. I mean, obviously they're collecting them.
They are. Yeah. At conferences, we always run out of unicorns, right? People want stuff. I don't know what it is about plush, but people want plush.
Yeah, they love
And then a year later, they're like, why is this thing on my bed? And they donate it. Yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly. It's one of those things at a time, and then you're like, what was this? Where did I get this? And, oh, it's got this guy's logo on it, and it's garbage. And then you're like, do I give it to, I guess I'll, donate it now. So they're probably, there's a, like a thrift shop somewhere with tons of these things that you're like, oh, now it's going to landfill, and I've done a horrible thing for the environment. So I should think of, I don't know. I was going to say something that disappears, but then it disappears. So I guess that's the problem. Like you want to be eco-friendly and not just be producing more garbage. But on the other hand, I want people to have my garbage so they'll look at my logo. I don't know.
Stuff.
Yeah, it's all about the swag. So, yeah, so I've been researching because I want to start making some Spark the Genius stuff. So I'm going to research all the print-on-demand companies. Because even, like, oh, do I have it here? It's behind me. But I've got, like, a Crumpler man bag. Do you want to see my Crumpler man bag?
Okay, yeah.
All right, 1 second.
Yeah.
Talk to the audience while I'm away.
I will occupy the time. None of this has anything to do with tech, but it is totally fascinating. So let me tell you, this is more about podcasting and being a podcast host than anything, right? Because you're trying to get noticed in a sea of people that suddenly call themselves podcast hosts, and it's a day-to-day challenge, right? Because we have something to say. All of us, I think, as podcast hosts, are trying to make the world a better place.
All right, I'm back, and I took off my headphones, so whatever you and Michael discussed, I'll never know, because I'm certainly not going back to listen to this podcast. To edit it
come on.
No, well, no, I mean, if I had to go back and edit, I tried this once. Like I was vlogging from the film festival, and I thought, okay, every day I'm gonna get up in the morning and edit my vlog from the previous day, like Casey Neistat does. He's got these little short films every day, and it took me almost all day to edit the stupid thing. And I didn't go out and do anything else the second day. I'm like, this is not sustainable. So I just have to upload directly whatever I'm doing, no editing. I don't have time to listen back. Like, there's a famous clip of Stephen Colbert asking, oh no, was it Ricky Gervais? Who knows? Maybe it was Ricky Gervais asking Johnny Depp, have you seen The Tourist? And he's like, no. It's like, no, actually, yeah. So that was a funny thing. But I think maybe it was Stephen Colbert asking Johnny, have you ever watched your own movies? He's like, no, I haven't seen any of them. Or, like, most actors aren't going to go back and watch it because they were like, I was in it. Like, I don't have time for that. But anyways, here's my man bag. And I've had this for years and years, and I've paid to get it stitched up again. And it's just it. Crumpler's like an Australian company, and I really like it because it's like colored inside, like it's bright green inside, even though it's black on the outside, so you can see what's in it. But it's just falling apart now. And I was gonna like order another one from Australia, even though it's $40 shipping all the way here.
Wow.
And then I was looking at Amazon, but then I was like, you know what? Last night I was searching print-on-demand man bags, or because I was like, why not make my own man bag with my own logo on it? Because like there's some cool Nike ones too, but I'm like, I don't want a Nike. I mean, I do want one, but I want anything with a logo from now on. It's a Spark. Like I don't care. Like it's no more promoting other people's stuff.
Well, yeah. Otherwise, you're advertising them, and they don't even have a podcast. I mean, who'd want to have their stuff?
Exactly. Nobody wants.
You ever heard of Nike podcast? There's no Nike podcast.
There must be a Nike podcast. Hey Siri, Google Nike podcast. Let's see here. Oh wait, it's not even. Does it know I'm busy on a podcast right now? Hey Siri. It's not listening to me. That's weird. Maybe it knows. Maybe it's. I don't know. I'll bet there's a Nike pod. Here, I'm going to Google it right now because I listen to this Australian podcast, and whenever they're talking about something, I'm like, I don't know, let's look it up right now, and they just talk to, and then they do it. Actually, James Altucher Googles things in the middle of this podcast too. So Nike podcast.
It's called
on
Trained.
Trained, yeah, on Apple Podcasts. There it is with Kevin Love. That's a good name. And they're the Trained. Trained. Oh, and look at their logo. It's even like it's their Nike font with a swoosh on top of it. Trained. Yeah. So
body and mind.
Body and mind.
Yeah. So impressive. Not really.
People also ask, does Nike have a podcast? Greatness isn't born, it's trained. With that in mind, Nike's Trained podcast series explores the cutting edge of holistic fitness to help make you a better trainer and athlete. Tune in to discover the latest innovations, insights, and trends from industry experts in the training world. And then other people have searched, is Kevin Love a Nike athlete? I was introduced to yoga 10 years ago after my rookie season, and it has helped me enhance my overall fitness and mental health, Love said in an Instagram post. I'm thankful to be working with Nike to help further such an important practice. I don't know who any of these people are, but if I was into sports, I might listen to it.
Maybe.
Although I would feel like I'm getting biased information that, like everything somehow comes back to, this would be better if you had Nike shoes or a Nike man bag. But yeah, I mean, good for them. Why not have a podcast? I mean, you've got $1 billion. You should be paying somebody $5 to record a chat, like at least have it out there. They say everybody should have a podcast, like whether you're a plumber or like any business, then you can be like, I have a podcast. Although I don't want that to be the case because then everybody's got a podcast. So then we're not unique and then nobody's going to listen because they're busy doing their own podcast.
The amount of people, right? Because you as a podcaster, you just put your podcast out there and you hope somebody listens, right? And you hope somebody finds it helpful or interesting and maybe they listen to another episode or two. And what I found is, people do, because they'll come up to me and they'll be like, oh yeah, you're talking about that thing you talked about with so-and-so on your podcast. And I'm like, oh my God, somebody listened to a podcast episode. Wow, that's awesome. And they can tell me more about my podcast episode than I can remember. Because like you, I don't go back and listen to the episodes and and edit and do all these things and put them on while I sleep at night and stuff. When you get to so many, I couldn't, I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, James Altucher does that a lot too. He'll ask his producer, did we interview this person or did we ever do that? And I'm like, what? You can't remember an hour conversation I have with them? But no. Like if I message somebody on Facebook sometimes, I'll be like, and I'll see all the archived messages and be like, oh my God, we were talking 5 years ago or 10 years ago and I don't remember this conversation at all or this person at all. Like, I'm starting to realize, well, I don't know, the brain isn't as infallible. Like, memory is, like, there's only so much hard drive space you have and it's like you can't remember. So like almost like everything you do, like even the last 5 episodes that I still need to upload, I probably don't remember anymore what was discussed. And I'm just hoping that my brain has a way of sort of remembering what's really important or taking away the lesson from it so that I'll be, but rather than every single detail, like, oh, right, like maybe I'll remember sliding my thumb on the space button or something, but I might not remember where I heard that from in 10 minutes.
I'll give you the next guest you got to go seek out and get on. His name is Dave Farrow. He hasn't been on my show yet. We're coordinating, right? We're coordinating for him to be on. But he is the 2-time Guinness World Record holder for the greatest memory. And and he talks about COVID fog brain, and he talks about like tips on how to improve your memory. And I was like, I need to talk to this dude because like you, I'm like, I can't remember. I have no idea.
Yeah, and I saw a tweet yesterday from a doctor saying if you haven't had COVID yet, try not to get it. If you've had it, really try not to get it again because it's a neurodegenerating disease that causes brain deterioration. I was like, wait, what? I thought it was just like a cold usually. Like, now I'm like, maybe I should have tried harder to not get it. Like, if I ruined my brain? Like, I don't remember anybody saying... So I'm hoping what they mean is, like, for some people it might eat away your brain, but it doesn't... And it hasn't wiped out everybody's brain. And now I'm also mad that I ever drank. Like, going to bars and stuff. I'm like... oh, geez, like, how much brain power did Mike's Hard Lemonade erase from my brain? Like, I don't want that to be the case. So my message to the kids out there, don't drink, don't get COVID, and then talk to Dave Farrow. Maybe what we should do is, like, book him and do a joint interview that we can both post on our podcast and stuff. And that way, maybe he's busy, and then we can tag team him. That sounds wrong, but, yeah.
I love that. We haven't done a threesome podcast. I've never done that.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. Because why not? Because one feature I love now that I just noticed on Instagram is that like you can invite somebody to be a collaborator on any video post. So it'll if I make a video and I upload it and I say Michael's a collaborator, it shows up on both our feeds as if we both did it. So it's like, for example, so this could be like that. Like, you know what? There's an episode for both of us, and you can listen to it on Michael's thing or whatever I thing, and it could be kind of a fun. It could be a revolutionary thing.
That's it. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right.
Like on some of it, it's like, you can have up to 10 guests. And I'm like, how the hell would you podcast host 10 people?
Yeah, exactly. That would be, but maybe that's what people have to do now. Now that they've heard my idea, it's like, all right, every podcast host in the world is going to just do one podcast with each guest, and then we're all just in there, and it's like we're all piping in with like half a question or something. Like it's the "We Are the World" song. It's like you get one line, and then because how many podcasts do we need, right? And then even when I listen to like James Altucher or shows that I like, I'm like, oh, I should have them on my show. I'm like, what the heck would I ask them? I've just heard everything. Like, I have no more questions. I don't know. So then I'm like, I guess my show is like, if I got Tony Robbins on my show to talk about his new health book, I'm like, well, I just heard him talk about his health book on James's show. What the heck would I talk? Like, you can go read the book. You don't need me to tell me about should I eat vitamins, but all I can offer myself, and this is what they say about anybody, like your unique advantage is that nobody else is you. So like nobody else would have a conversation just like the two of us, for better or for worse. So maybe that's what my show is. It's like, no, you know what? You can go read his book or whatever. You can read Dave Farrow's book if you want. I'm sure he has a book of tips. But this is the conversation we would have if it was just me meeting him in an elevator or at a bus and be like, oh, let's talk. And, who knows what Dave Farrow likes talking about. How do you spell his name? It doesn't matter. You're going to find him and book him for us. I'm not going to
That's it.
waste
That's it.
Look at this. I've outsourced the job now.
That's it. That's it. You just saved yourself time.
Exactly. Oh, my God. I'm very excited. How long do you normally do interviews? We're coming up on an hour. We might be done, or we could ramble on. I don't know.
An hour seems like
it's a nice round number.
Good. Yeah. That's awesome.
Because how much time? Like, even if I see on a podcast, like, oh, it's an hour, I'm like, oh, I don't want to listen to this. Like, I'm too. I could stop listening at any point, but I feel like I don't want to get into it. It's like I'd rather. Isn't
that weird? You feel committed, right? Once you start, you're like, I've got to finish this. What if they say something important later on?
Yeah, then I feel like, and also, I feel like if I just even stop a minute, like, sometimes the podcasts end, and then and then they're like, okay, well, don't forget to subscribe. I'm like, okay, I can stop listening now. But then Apple doesn't think I listened to it all. It won't just show up as played on my feed. I'm like, I got to listen till the end or fast forward so it knows that's it. Like, get it out of my feed. Yeah. I don't have like 100 podcasts with like 3 seconds left on them. I might be a bit ADHD, I don't know, or OCD, one of the acronyms, RPI.
That's right.
Did you write a book? You've got a book on your shelf behind you. Started doing something?
Oh, no, that's not a book. That's a slogan. The way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing.
See, that's profound. And that seems to be kind of what I'm taking away from almost every self-help podcast I listen to. It's like there's no way to figure something out by thinking about it. Like, you're not like, oh, I'm going to start Facebook and here's my plan for the next 20 years. You just have to do it and see where it goes.
Right.
It's the only way. It's the only way to experiment. Like, what's my podcast about? I don't know. Just do the podcast. Figure out what it's about.
That's it.
Did your wife just come into the room? She's like, "Why are you still on this podcast? Like, you got to do something?"
No. I'm in our office space, and they're unloading a Costco order. So,
like, so now you've got two giant bottles of hot sauce that'll take you 50 years to consume. I had a bottle of I don't know. I guess my parents bought it at Costco of like vitamin D pills that expired in 2019, so 3 years ago. And I'm like, I'm going to finish these. And then towards the end this month, I was like, I'm going to take 2 a day. Like, cause I mean, they've already expired, so they're probably not that potent. And I felt like I just want this bottle gone. I don't want this barrel of vitamin D. I want a new bottle. So that's what I've decided from now on. Like, I want to get small bottles of stuff because you get the joy of finishing it. Like, I don't know what,
Yeah, some of that Costco stuff, you're kind of like, who needs this much of whatever?
No, and that's how they make it cheaper, I guess. Like, every cereal box is 2 giant boxes taped together. But unless you're running a summer camp, why do you need that much anything? But you feel like, oh, I'm saving money. It's like, but you need to pay more for a mortgage to house these items. Like, you'd be better off having a small jar of mustard and having a smaller condo. I don't know.
I agree.
There's something to it. So okay, I like to use the title of my podcast now, like how to something, so it feels like, oh, I'm gonna get something useful. I might even do like how to brand yourself, even if you're an employee, kind of thing. That could be what we've learned today, or how to simplify your processes with Michael or something.
Yeah.
And then I guess podcasts usually end by saying, well, where do you want people to find you if they want to find you or something?
I don't know. It's pretty hard it's pretty hard to miss me. So anytime you type in Tech Pro Unicorn, I'm going to come up. Podcast will come up, but techprounicorn.com is all about me, and rpic.com is all about the company who I work for, RPI.
Cool. And just a quick, I'm always wondering, because I don't really have my own website, but I feel like I should. Like, I shouldn't let Mark Zuckerberg control everything. Like, how do you build, like, what did you use to make your little website? And I guess, and then you've got links to your podcast and whatever.
I do. I use podpage.com. So Podpage is really great at just sucking in everything. I host all my podcast episodes out on Buzzsprout, and it just sucks in all my podcast episodes and creates a really cool webpage. People interact, people sign up for my podcast. So I have all this contact information that's out there, and it's a really pretty good tool.
Because that's the thing you need as well. You need the newsletter. You need to import email addresses so that you can reach people, not just like who are following you on Instagram or whatever. And then you've got your other social media links on that page, I guess. And
I do.
And you've kind of made the podcast, I guess, the center of everything. Like, that's what you do. You have a podcast, and that's James calls it the hub and spoke. And then the rest is spokes. Okay, you've got your Instagram, you've got your dolls, whatever. But, yeah, so maybe the podcast should be my hub. I'm Spark the Genius podcast, and everything comes back to that. All right, I like that. All right, so maybe, because I know I've got a pod page, I just never used it, because I'm like, I don't need a pod page. I'm too cool for pod page. I've still got my Blogspot blog from 30 years ago. I don't, so I've still got MySpace, for God's sake. So every now and then I log in. I'm like, can I see my old videos still? Or like, I don't even know what's there actually. Because it used to be you needed a MySpace music page and a MySpace comedy page and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then that was like, oh, that's ridiculous. But it's almost coming the other way now. Like, maybe I should have an Instagram music page, and it's like, or a YouTube channel for comedy and a YouTube channel for this self-help nonsense that I'm doing. Like, yeah, it's too much. I can't handle it. But I guess just like you said, just do it and see what happens. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. And I didn't realize you were at work. So get back. Wait, you're doing your podcast out of your your work office?
Yeah, we have a podcast studio.
Right.
That's all this room is. It is a content podcast studio. We call it The Studio. I know that's real original, but it is a podcast studio. All of our offices have some sort of studio. Our Baltimore headquarters has a video studio. Our Kansas City office has a kind of like a technology computer video studio where we do screen recordings and such. So almost all our offices have some sort of content creating, give knowledge out to the world kind of capability.
That is brilliant, because I haven't worked at an ad agency for like 6 years, and I wonder if they have things like that now. It was always like, we got to find a little thing to film something. So did you bring a bag of stuffed animals into this room, put them on the shelf, and now you got to take them off for the next podcaster to come in?
Nope. I'm the only podcaster out of this office. So these guys just sit up there all day, collect dust.
Did you choose the panels for the wall there, your own color, or that just happens to be blue?
No, we did. We installed those custom when we took over the space.
Who's we?
There's a whole group of us. There's a whole group of us sitting out there.
But I mean, your Tech Pro Unicorn, is that a blue color, your logo?
It is a blue color, but it's also in alignment with just happens
RPI.
to be the company colors. So it was just a match made in heaven.
Perfect. Yeah, blue's pretty common, I found, like LinkedIn, Facebook. They say Zuckerberg chose it because he's colorblind. It's the only color he could see, but that seems pretty selfish. But whatever.
That's
I'll ask him when he's on my podcast. All right. Well, thank you so much.